Hello, welcome to the next video of the UiPath Document Understanding Solution Architecture series. So in the previous video, we looked at the initialization components of the document understanding framework, and we stopped right after explaining the get transaction data. So the next one in the line is this digitization part. So again, digitizing is common for the unattended workflow and also for the attended workflow. So let's quickly have a look at the digitize component or the workflow. So this is the workflow that we are using in the framework to digitize the documents. To start with, let's quickly have a look at the input arguments. So for this to work, we need to provide the input, the target document file path, the configuration, dictionary, the max attempts and the retry interval, just like we saw it in the classification. And as the result of this digitization, it will return the document object model and the document text. So those are the arguments. To do the digitization, here we have few nodes. So I will get to these pre-digitization activities and the retry mechanisms. But before that, let's quickly have a look at this digitized document activity and why we have it inside a retry scope. So sometimes when you are digitizing it, a document, it may run into exceptions. So in that case, we don't need to throw an error. We can actually retry the digitizing process and see if it can resolve the exception. This can happen time to time, and I have also personally experienced this on several um, document understanding projects. So, a retry scope can actually resolve some of those issues that can happen when, especially when you're processing large documents or when you're processing documents maybe with some special elements in it, for example. So there can be scenarios like that, and it's good to have it inside a retry scope. So it is given to you by default in the document understanding framework. And here in the retry scope, by default, we are using the max retry attempts and also the retry interval that is directly coming from the configuration. So the configuration of the activity is quite common. It is the basic configuration you see here in the framework. You can change these according to your requirements. But generally, this works for most of the scenarios. The next one in line is actually the OCR engine. So in the document understanding framework, we have the UiPath document OCR. So this is the default OCR engine that comes with the digitize activity. So is this the best OCR engine for all the document understanding projects? It may depend. So it's you don't need to really use the same OCR engine all the time. So the best way to do it is you can see you basically have option to use multiple OCR engines here in the activities. So if you search for it, you have multiple OCR engines available. So UiPath document OCR does a lot of things and it is capable of even handling handwritten data. But still, it is always recommended, depending on your scenario, depending on your documents that you have, the document quality, how the information is presented, and a lot of things matter when it comes to OCR. So just try the UiPath document OCR and also maybe multiple other OCR engines. Try to see which one is the best and use the best OCR engine for your scenario here. So for the framework, this is what we have as the default one. So now we have talked about the digitize activity. So let's go up here where we have a important comment. So here we are talking about some pre-digitization steps, including steps like grayscaling. So this is also another important uh, step that we need to do in the digitizing part. So sometimes these documents can include a lot of additional things like highlights, and also maybe the colors in the document may affect the OCR capabilities, the data extraction or the detection capabilities. Like for example, if you have white text in a light blue kind of a background, it may not able to detect those text accurately. So for those kind of scenarios, you may need to perform certain pre-digitization steps like grayscaling. So this is an important feature, and then you can find different activities in the marketplace to perform these things. So if the document you are processing is an image, you can use the image related activities to do the grayscaling. If it's a PDF file, there are several activities in the marketplace which you can use to grayscale the documents and even do certain modifications in the document before you actually apply the digitization. So keep that in mind. It may be required for your documents depending on how your documents are. It is not applicable for all the scenarios. So have a look at the documents that you need to process in your use case and see if we need to perform any kind of grayscaling or any pre-digitizing activities as such, and then apply those actions here. So as a best practice, don't put everything in the same digitized workflow. Have some sub workflows. Invoke those workflows separately in here and then get your documents digitized. So those are the different methods we can use in the digitized workflow in the framework. So they have given us tips and we just need to add and configure the workflow as required. So that covers the digitizing part in the solution architecture video. So next one is the classification. So I will see you in another video for that part. But on this thing, if you have any questions or any concerns, feel free to reach out or drop a comment and I'll reply to you. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next video for the classification part.